for having me over here. This is my first time at the festival in Kerala, and I'm very happy to be here with my film. I'm coming here after 25 years, so I don't remember too much of Trivandrum, so I'm very excited. A little correction, actually. I was a student of literature in college, and then parallelly, because I always wanted to become a filmmaker, I was constantly thinking, how do I reach this goal? And I was studying film studies in Kolkata at Chitrabani while I was doing my literature, comparative literature. And I was very actively a part of the film club at the institute, plus Kolkata at that point had a very thriving film culture. So we could see films at the Goethe Institute, at the Audios Français at Nondon. So one was constantly going and watching as many films as possible. I applied to FTII because my elder sister was doing editing there, and I couldn't get through there because I was terrible in cramming up, and the exams there had this whole section to do with general knowledge. And I was from Bhutan, and I still remember I couldn't answer this question, where do you get rhinoceroses in India? And at that point I was studying in Bhutan, so I had no idea. So, and I used to always wonder, what has that to do with filmmaking? Anyway, fortunately, I got a scholarship because I was doing a workshop at Max Muller Bhavan on filmmaking, and I got a scholarship and went for my first training as an editor to Berlin. And I really think that that has been extremely important for my in my development and my becoming ultimately a filmmaker, because I was sure, though I was going for an editing course, I was very sure that what I wanted to do was become a filmmaker. At the same time, I knew that the film industry in Bombay, where I wanted to come ultimately and work where I'm working now, is primarily a system which is run hugely by film families. So whether you're an actor, director, it's always through different contacts that it's not easy to become a filmmaker there. And I knew that if I would learn the craft, one of the aspects would be easier for me to get an entry into the film industry. And after my training in Berlin, I came to Bombay and I started working as an editor. During the 10 years that it took me to make my first film, I worked as an art director, music producer, writer, and I was doing everything possible in different aspects of filmmaking to be able to make my first film as independently as possible, where I knew that I wouldn't probably have the money to hire too many people and I could do things. Coming to the education part, I would like to talk about it also, of how significant it is, I feel, right now, because now, like I've just completed my fourth film and I'm working right now with Binger Film Lab in Amsterdam on my script for my next film, and also was very actively working with them on this film that I've just completed. And I feel that as a filmmaker also, when you're already a filmmaker also, the learning process does not stop. And I feel that going to a script lab, which is in a way a film school itself, helps me rediscover myself once again. Because sometimes along the way, when you're working in the industry, when you are surrounded by a lot of pressure, commercial pressure, other pressures, expectations, that you tend to at times forget yourself. You're thinking of the commerce, you're thinking of box office and a whole lot of other things. And sometimes when you just go back to a school or an environment like a Binger, then you get back your innocence as a filmmaker, where you stop thinking of everything else and just work on the script. And I think that's extremely useful. Again, coming back to in terms of importance of film education, while I was making my film I Am, which was a film that was primarily done through volunteers and financed through Facebook, I had 24 assistants because I shot in 4 different cities. So every city I was taking in interns as assistants, and some of them were from film schools and some of them were not from film schools. And I want to talk about it because they were all there on the set for the first time in their life. And for me, what I discovered is that actually it really depends on a person, because one of the best assistants turned out to be this guy who used to be a film journalist in Goa. He had interviewed me, then he joined the group, and he was extremely keen, and so keen that he was the one who was learning the fastest. Of the others, I had students from the Film Institute in Australia, in Canada, FTII, and I think being at an institute, you're much more aware of what is happening. The learning process when you're actually at a film shoot is much faster. You know what is happening. At the same time, I also feel these days that I had some students also from some private film institutes from Bombay. I would not like to take names, but I realize very often that when you get into this institute, all that you need is money. And unlike an FTII or a SRFTI, where you have to give an exam, though I feel for FTI, I still think it's important to qualify, to have a certain kind of, it's not just money that should make it possible to go to a film institute, because unfortunately the students who came from these private institutes were the weakest, because they just could pay the huge fees, and have this. I felt that the passion aspect was missing there. Maybe it's I can't generalize. Maybe it was a case that happened just with the three of the assistants who came from the private institute. But I sincerely believe that the state needs to honestly support filmmaking, film students, any students, education, and a culture can only grow with the growth of art. And yeah, thank you so much.